Hey everyone, it is Meg from Clapping Dog Media. And in this video, we are going to talk about how to properly optimize a blog post. We're going to go through all of the things that Google cares about and why they're important. And then we're going to take a look at some examples. Okay, so before we can get into the checklist of things that we need to do to properly optimize a blog post, I want to step back a little bit and tell you kind of why we're doing all of these things. Now also is a great time to scroll down and watch the video called What is Search? It provides a great overview of what I'm going to try to talk about really quickly here. So Google's main job is to provide the best answer for all of the billions of search queries that happen every day. And Google really does want to find the best answer because they get paid from Google ads. So if they provide good answers, then people are going to be on Google longer and they're going to get more money. So their goal really is to provide the best websites on page one for all of the search queries. Now, the way they do that is by quickly reading and understanding all of the pages of the web on repeat. You know, there's thousands and thousands of new pages put up on the internet a day, and it's Google's job to quickly read them, understand them, and know how to categorize them so it can quickly pull out that page when somebody searches for it. Now, this is all relevant to us and what we're going to talk about today, which is how to properly optimize a blog post. So when we go and create a new post, our job is to make it as easy as possible for Google to scan, understand, and know how to categorize your post. And what that means in practical terms is a little bit of everything, a lot of things. Number one, your post should be skimmable. People and Google should be able to crawl the site or just scan through it quickly and understand what it's all about. So this means using having a really good title, a good title on your page that explains clearly what it is all about. Having headlines that break up the content so that you can kind of scan and read these big, bold headlines as you go through the article. Have bulleted lists. Maybe even have a table of contents. Break up your content with visuals. Anything to keep your site engaging and make it easy to kind of understand or give context to the blog post. So now we're going to move over and look at some really good examples of posts that are well optimized. Alrighty, let's go ahead and look at some examples of other blog posts that are really well optimized. We're going to look at one on our site as well as one on an outside site that we don't work with, but is a really good example of how a site is optimized. Now, one of the first things that Google reads and humans read too is the page title. It's really important. And if you do nothing else, having an excellently written page title is really important. So this example, Google Visual Stories, aka Web Stories, a complete guide. The reason why we like this is because it's very clear. If you know by just reading the title that you can expect a pretty in-depth guide on how to create Google Visual Stories or web stories. And that's exactly what we want. We want clear, easy to understand for users and for Google what the title is all about. So one of the first things you need to do is write a very good title. Now, as we mentioned before, it is important for articles to be skimmable. And one of the easiest ways you can make that happen is by creating headlines, like big, bold headlines and or visuals that break up the text. So I want to just do a quick experiment with you, and I'm going to just scroll quickly through this blog post, and we're just going to kind of take note of the headlines. Okay, are you ready? There's no test here, but this is what we're doing. So here's one. What are the stories? Here's a visual. How do you view the stories? Visual, bullets. Why we like them more than instant Facebook stories. What are the benefits? How to make a visual story. with some bullets and then tips for visual stories. So if you read none of the small copy, you get a very good understanding of what this post is all about. And that's exactly what we're looking for, because Google only has so much time to crawl your site. If it only has time to read your headlines, we want for it to understand where to put this article in its memory of search, so that if somebody is searching, what are the benefits of Google Stories, Google can easily pull this article up. So we want to make the site skimmable by having really good, well-defined headlines that explain the article very well. So that's number 2. Number 3 kind of in there is having visuals to break up the text. We have several visuals in here within the site, and it just makes it easier to engage with. It's easier on your eyes. If somebody is walking like down the street looking at the article on their phone, the visuals really just make it easier to understand. Now, other ways that you can optimize your blog post is to have links, both internally and external links. Now, remember, the web is a web, and Google can gain kind of context for your website as you are connected with other places on the internet. So if you can link to, like in this example, we link to different articles and different sources for web stories, Google can put this website, our web article, our blog article, in context with these other things that we are linking to. So if possible, it is great to link to at least one outside website or article that's related to yours. So it can provide you can provide context for Google on how you relate to those around you. Now, it's also important to create engagement on your website if you can link to an internal website. So if you have another article or another blog post about this, highly recommend that you link to that. That way we can keep people on the site longer, and we can increase those engagement metrics like pages per session and dwell time. Those are very important for Google when they try to understand how valuable a website is. So just to kind of recap here, we have a really good title. We have headlines that break up content. We have images that break up the content. And then we have links internally and externally to really help give context to your site in relation to the rest of the internet. Other things that you can do to create to optimize the site is to make sure that you add a meta description. Now, if you're using WordPress, I highly recommend that you write your meta description in Yoast. In Squarespace, it's part of the page editor to write your meta description. Same with Shopify. Now, the meta description doesn't directly affect the on-site optimization of a page, but it does help click-through rates. So once Google puts your website on a search results page, that meta description is that little blurb of content that shows up on the search results page. That's a great way to get people to click through and read your website. All right, we're going to jump over now to another article that is also really well optimized. All right, this is one from the Everygirl. And if just by reading the title, How to Work Out During the Holidays Without Even Trying, gives you a really good idea of what this article is all about. Now, let's do the same thing. We're just going to kind of scroll through. So here we are, big, bold text, maximize activities, multiple movement sessions, visual to break it up, wake up, go to bed earlier, turn chores into a workout, get creative, forgo convenience, multitask, focus on posture. So you can see that article is a list about how to work out without even trying. So things that we like about this, things that are pretty obvious, big, bold headlines. I love that they're in a list. People love lists. Images that describe what the article is about. This isn't an arbitrary image. This image helps describe, like, this person is walking with their baby. And you can see in here that there's lots of links, I'm sure externally and internally, that help describe this article. So Those are things that we really want to look at and we want to keep in mind when we're optimizing a blog post. Good headlines, good titles, linking, and imagery to break up the text.